France doesn't have swing states, but it might have swing villages come next Sunday. Hello everyone, I'm François Picard. Welcome to a special edition of the France 24 debate. We're out of the studio. We've gone to Bonnelles. We're 45 kilometers south of the French capital. And Bonnelles, 2,000 citizens. It's got its monument to war memorial for the dead of World War I and World War II. It's got its village church. It's got its history. Bonnelles, where some of the citizens commute every day to Paris, others who never go there. And it's this tale of two Frances that's unfolding in this French presidential election. In this special edition, we're going to take a look at which way the pendulum might swing. For villages like this one, it's a perpetual struggle to stay relevant. Having roots that date back to the 12th century is no guarantee. In Bonnelles, there's no train station, no market day, but there are farms, small businesses, a few shops and public services, in particular, a primary and a state middle school. Monsieur le maire, bonjour. Guy Poupard has been mayor of Bonnelles for 22 years. We're here in a village of 2,000 people, which is with one eye looking towards the rest of France and one eye looking towards Paris. Which captures the attention of the locals?
Well, for work, we tend to look more towards Paris, but for entertainment, family life, and everyday matters, we tend to look more towards the countryside. That's often the reason why many people choose to live here, to live in a rural village rather than a dense city. I think that they've made this choice mainly so their children can grow up in an environment they enjoy.
You have some people who commute, others who are farmers. Do you have the impression that it's two villages and that you're two mayors?
No, because there are not that many people left on the farms. And people don't usually go all the way to Paris. They go to the suburbs which border Paris, but not quite all the way into the capital. People go to work in towns like Orsay, Saclay, or Orly. So quite significant towns, but not all the way to Paris. Most of them go between Paris and the border zones.
We're going to take a step just next door now to the town hall. And here is somewhere that matters under your mandate. You've been mayor here for 22 years, since 1995. And this is the local post office. Tell us a bit. It was a hard fight to keep it open.
Yes, indeed. This is the result of a long struggle between the state and the town hall. Before, there used to be a big post office in Bonnelles, but gradually it lost workers, and it was agreed that a shopkeeper would take over the premises. It was really a tug of war between us and the state, because it was imperative for us to have a cash machine in the village. So we told them that as long as we can have a cash machine, then we'd be open to discussing the idea of a communal post office. Because the post office is very much a symbol, especially for people of a certain age. And we believed that having an ATM was absolutely necessary in order to have cash in a small village of 2,000 inhabitants.
There are many villages that don't have cash machines.
Well, yes, that's the case for many villages in the Île-de-France region, especially those that are furthest away from Paris. Some have also lost their post offices, and now a shop offers a limited amount of postal services. We wanted to have the full scope of postal services, and we obtained this by negotiating over maintaining a cash machine in the village.
Speaking of battles, let's get to the thick of it. The election results are here. Are you surprised?
No. This reflects the usual voting patterns in Bonneville. It's all right.
You're one of the first towns in France to open a center for migrants after the big influx of 2015. It was thought that this would mean a huge rise for the National Front. Marine Le Pen finished 4th in your village. Why is that?
Well, I'd say that this is part of what's missing on a national level. The citizens of Bonneville have been taught the values of hospitality, and because of this, we see that these parties are losing support around here. I think it's a good thing. Because now when people see strangers arriving, as soon as they get to know them, their attitude changes and they become far more welcoming. And this is what happened in Bonnelles in 2015. When the refugees first arrived, no one was asking why they were here. People only cared about ensuring that they were properly welcomed. And ever since, it's been going wonderfully. We have many villagers who have gotten involved in hosting foreigners. So I think that it's simply unimaginable for them to oppose hosting foreigners elsewhere. Honestly, I think it's helped to soften some, let's say, strong ideas of rejection. I think this has been the main repercussion of what happened in 2015.
A lot's happened since 2015. Drop in at the village cafe, and the refugees don't even come up in conversation. The local auto mechanic and his neighbors, they worry about foreigners, but not migrants, posted workers from inside the European Union.
Bonjour.
What's at stake in this presidential election?
We've reached the end of the system. These guys, socialists, communists, that was before the war. All that's finished. We have to kick them out and start fresh. And now we've had it. We've had it.
The French no longer believe in politics, yet nearly 8 out of 10 voters turned out for the first round.
Some people were told that their rights were going to be taken away, some of their freedoms too, that they've got to get a move on. Others were told to get a move on for different reasons. Anyway, as long as the election isn't over, no matter who wins, we don't know what either candidate will do once they're elected. That's the heart of the problem.
You're saying the European model as it stands creates imbalances. Should France leave Europe?
No, we shouldn't leave. But we need to lock the thing down. We have to stay together. We need to secure the borders. If the guys earn 300 euros in Eastern Europe, you don't say 300 euros. You say you have to earn as much as the French.
That's the feeling amongst many French people, that we've lost our sovereignty to Europe.
And so do you have employees?
No, I had some, but I stopped.
Oh, so you had some?
We have no choice. We can't pay everyone. Each time there's an extra layer. And when you hire staff, they oblige you to do this, to do that. Then there's the European directives. Let's talk about that. They say, well, hey, we're in Europe, so you need this, 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 and this. So how do we manage? That's the key. If we want unemployment to disappear, we have to give work to everyone and we have to create jobs. People need to be able to set up their own business. Payroll taxes have to be lower to encourage people to start their own businesses. You need to encourage bosses to hire with lower payroll taxes. It's not about money. It's not money that people want, it's lower overheads.
Angry at Europe, but they don't want to leave. For the mayor, the gripes are legitimate, so is concern over the livelihood of his constituents. Yet, the sense of community is strong, as the welcome of the refugees has shown. Do you have the sense that there is this unwinding of public services and their relationship with ordinary citizens? People seem really afraid that the state is going to abandon them.
Personally, I don't think so, because we really have a role on the ground within the community, and if we fulfill these duties, then I can't imagine why people would lose faith in the state as a whole. I think that in Bonneville, our elected officials are very easy to reach, and then we act as the link between the citizens and the services at the departmental, regional and state level. So no, I don't think this is an issue here.
In this presidential election campaign, one of the issues that people are talking about is the desertification of rural areas, of places that are far away from these big poles of activity where everything's happening.
This desertification exists, yes, but for us it's actually a motivating factor that drives us to try offer the same level of services as in a large city, only on a smaller scale. If in a village you have everything you need to raise a child from birth until high school, the high school is just a few kilometers away. If you can provide food, there's a small grocery store. If you have medical services, a pharmacy over here. When you have all this, people don't feel isolated or rejected, but again, you have to maintain these services.
You sense a paradox. On the one hand, the people inside here, when you speak to them, all they're talking about is the presidential election. And on the other hand, they're disillusioned. They say whoever wins, it's not going to make a difference.
It makes sense that you'd notice this paradox because there's a discrepancy between real everyday life and what we hear on TV and in the media. The media tends to always bring things to a national or international level. But what concerns citizens first and foremost are the policies taken on a local level. What'll happen to our local taxes, to our streets, our businesses, doctors and services? This is what people here want to talk about. Inevitably, when it comes to the presidential election, we're talking about policies on a much larger scale. So people have trouble relating, which is unfortunate. When you look at a factory like Whirlpool in Amiens, I understand that these people are furious and that it gets coverage. But here in Bonnelles, it won't be Whirlpool, but maybe a smaller factory or an artisan who can't pay his bills anymore. I think sometimes we need to bring politics back to a local level, because it's on a local level that people want to know what's going on. Now you might tell me there are local elections for that. This is true, but at the moment, people are mostly talking about the national and international policies rather than local ones. So people feel a bit disappointed.
88% turnout, and yet this feeling of disillusion.
Well, this idea of weariness may be the first that comes to mind, but might I say it's a little contradictory. If people were so weary, they wouldn't go vote. But they do vote, and that's a good thing, but maybe they're just eager to be done with all this, so we can finally focus on local politics.
Thank you very much for being with us.
The pleasure is all mine.
Thanks for welcoming us. So there you have it, citizens who are conflicted, let's say it, over this presidential election. A mayor who says he's optimistic when it comes to the future of his village. When we come back in this special edition of the France 24 debate, we're going to speak with two reporters who've done their own tour of France and been to places where there's a lot less optimism. Stay with us.
The Observer's Direct, presented by Derek Thompson.
The pine forests of northern Ukraine, devastated by illegal mining. Amber can be worth $5,000 a kilo, and our observers say it's led to a ruthless business, deep in the heart of the forest, pitting miners against the police, with the forest losing out. It's on the next Observer's Direct.
The Observer's Direct, on France 24 and France24.com. You Are Here, your programme spotlighting French heritage.
Versailles, the Louvre and the Mont Saint-Michel are all well-known stars of French heritage. But French genius and France harbors many other hidden treasures. The arts, gastronomy, architecture, as well as nature's wonders. Come along with France 24 and discover France's living heritage. From young apprentices to accomplished craftsmen, farmers to Michelin star sporting chefs, meet these people whose passion for their professions preserve and drive French heritage.
You Are Here, on France 24 and France24.com.